Greetings, Andy here again, and this is a bit of a roundup of not brand new music that I've bought last month. I will be doing that or during August. I will be doing that shortly. But in August, I've also bought a couple of new albums that were released a little while ago, but which I've only just come across. And also, for one reason or another, I've picked up a few reissues that I think are of note, so I'm going to share. Two brand new albums, in the sense they're not reissues. This one actually came out in 2015, but I only came across it this year on recommendation of a few friends online. It actually came out in 2015, and it's by an artist called Mark Maguire, and it's called Beyond Belief. And this album, it was interesting. It's sort of described as electronic and post-rock. It's not sort of out there post-rock, but there are elements of post-rock, and it's also quite ambient, but without ever getting into that sort of soporific ambient. But it was fabulous value. It's a double, and it's on sort of clear vinyl with a sort of yellow stroke orange swirl, and was like really cheap, brand new, sealed package. Was just about £11 plus a couple of pounds postage. So great value, a lovely album. Not quite sure why I haven't come across it. I think Mark Maguire is predominantly a producer, so he sort of produced on lots of other people's albums and done less of his own. But anyway, great album. I came was really interesting. It's a CD. I picked this one up on a recommendation on a comment on one of my other videos, and it's obviously only CD. If it has been released on vinyl. I haven't. It doesn't appear to be available. Even Discogs only has it as a CD, and it's called United State of Mind. And it's a sort of project with Robin Trower, Maxi Priest, and a guy called Livingston Brown. Now, obviously, everyone knows Robin Trower, a great guitarist from back in the day. Maxi Priest was, for those of us in the UK, was sort of London-based reggae singer in the 80s and 90s. And I thought, this is really... and Trower and Maxi Priest, where does that one come from? So I streamed a bit online and absolutely loved it. It's not reggae, as you might imagine with Trower. It's quite soulful, so Maxi Priest's voice comes across as soul, and there's a little bit of 70s funk in there as well, and some fabulous guitar playing by Trower. Livingston Brown, I believe, is more of a, whilst he's playing bass and keyboards on here, he's more of an engineer and producer, I think, in terms of most of his output, and he did that on this album, and it's got 9 tracks. Opens with the title track. Just a lovely album and a real surprise, one I've not come across before. Fabulous guitar work, so well worth checking out.
This United State of Mind, state of mind. Pleasure was my master.
And some reissues. Now, for various reasons, I picked these up often when looking at for another a specific album, and noticed these in the sale and went for them. This first one is one of my favourite Eels albums. I have on CD, to be fair, from when it first came out, and it's a beautiful freak. It's their debut. It's got the amazing Novocaine for the Soul and Susan's House, and just a great album. And it was a reasonable price in an online sale when I was buying something else, so I had to go for it. This is one I actually went looking for. I was playing the CD recently and thought I really ought to have that. One of my favourite bands. It's the Flaming Lips and the Soft Bulletin, which came out I think in 99, was it? It was late 90 or 98, 99 I think. I can't remember, but it was the end of the 90s, and it really kicked off their sort of purple patch of albums which went through the OOs. The one after this was Yoshimi, which is probably their best, but this has got some great ones, including the fabulous Race for the Prize. So I got it at a reasonable price. It's not a recent reissue, well, in the last few years, but it's not a 2023 new reissue. But it's a nice album. It's a heavyweight vinyl. It plays nicely. So there you go. Another one I came across when buying another one, which was on offer in an online sale. Different one to when I bought the Soft Bulletin. And that is Dire Straits, Money for Nothing. Sorry, not Money, that's one of the tracks, isn't it? Brothers in Arms. And I really like Dire Straits. I had most of their early albums on vinyl when they first came out. And funnily enough, this one, which I think came out originally in '85, was either the only or one of very few, it's the only one I can actually remember, that I bought as a pre-recorded cassette. Because at the time, I think the car I had a cassette player in it. I'd mostly sort of like recorded cassettes on C90s and so on, but I wasn't really into buying pre-recorded cassettes. It was a medium I never got into really, but this was an exception. I've no idea where it is. I long lost it, and as far as I can see, when I was rummaging through some Dire Straits recently, I've not bought it on CD, so it was a bit of a gap in the selection, and I came across this. It's an Abbey Road. It's a 45 RPM, and it's a half-speed remastered at Abbey Road. It's on black vinyl. It's a double, obviously being 45 RPM. This only arrived the other day, and I've not actually played it yet, so I've got high hopes. I've got a few of the Abbey Road half-speed remastered, and they're usually really good quality. Now this is an album. The next one, this is one I went out looking for. It's one I've had on my list of albums to try and get when I go to record fairs and stores, and for used sort of original albums, and they're always available, but they're always really expensive, and to me a sort of £40-50 is expensive. So and it's Iron Maiden and The Number of the Beast, and this is a 40th anniversary issue. So it originally came out in '81, so this was a 2021 reissue, and I was sort of ultimately inspired to bite the bullet and just go and buy a reissue from Steve Carson's recent video on some Iron Maiden records which he won in a lottery, and his review of it. I thought, I've heard many times The Number of the Beast and Run for the Hills on the radio. But I like it, but I'm very sure I was never really into heavy metal at the time, certainly not hair metal, and this is this is my new favourite album. I've played it about 6 times since it came last week. I really enjoy it. So in my old age, I'm getting into the proper heavy metal stuff. It's brilliant. So I'm going to have to start looking around for some other Maiden, I think. And last but not least is one which, again, this actually only arrived yesterday, and it's one I was inspired to buy listening to the radio the other day when they were talking about its 25th anniversary, and I'm talking about Lauryn Hill and the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And this is an album which back in '98 when it came out was in constant play. It was my daughter, who was 12 at the time, and that tells you how old she is now. 25 years later, played it endlessly. Absolutely loved it. It remains one of her favourite albums. And I went to dig out the CD because soon after that I split up from my wife, and my daughter actually came and lived with me then. So, this was one of the CDs I would have taken, but I cannot find it. I just could not find it, and I thought, I'd really like to listen to that again and play it too for Charlotte next time she visits. So I came across this. It wasn't terribly expensive. It's I've no doubt they'll be doing a 25th anniversary one. This was actually a 2014 reissue, still available new online. So again, it arrived yesterday. I've not played it yet. I'll be doing that later. So that's a sort of slightly random mix of a couple of sort of new, non-reissues which came out a little while ago, and some reissues of albums which either I've lost somewhere along the way, or in the case of Iron Maiden, I wanted to get into my my heavy metal self. So anyway, I'll be doing the update on new releases, new music, and very recent reissues that I usually do during the next week or so. So thanks for watching. Cheers.